Good morning, Vamoose. This is your host, Guy Moose, coming to you this morning on a beautiful Saturday morning. Gonna kick off your weekend. Here we go. I live in a city that used to be known as Steel City. Still known as Steel City, but it certainly doesn't produce very much steel. At one point, it was making 3/4 of the United States steel production. 3/4. Now, I don't know what it makes, but it doesn't make very much. We have like maybe one or two factories left. They still make steel, but unfortunately, man, we've gone way down the food chain as far as steel production, and we're the little munchkins now. We're not the big brawlers like we used to be. At any rate, if you do your research now, the United States only exports about 2% of the steel in the whole world. 2%. And so, lately we have Trump threatening tariffs because he's trying to bring steel back, get people to buy more U.S. steel. And you can complain all you want, but the fact is, something needs to be done. And, whether tariffs or something else, but I don't know how else you're going to do it because China, they manipulate their currency, and so all of their products, all of them, are so ridiculously cheap the United States can't even think about getting close. I mean, you want to work for $1 a day? If you want to work for $1 a day, then we can compete. But if you don't want to do that, then don't complain when your president tries to, slap some tariffs on somebody, because there's no way you're going to compete against a country that basically tries to just absolutely annihilate your economy by making their money worthless. Okay? Moving on. Keep this in mind. So, at any rate, at this point, we're only exporting about 2%. Something's got to happen. But as I dug into this topic, steel is a very, very fascinating process of making steel. It's extremely dangerous. I had an old Pittsburgher talk to me yesterday and tell me how they used to, at the coke mills, at least, that the stuff that they make to obviously fire the steel up to the high temperatures it's got to get. They used to wear asbestos suits. This was like this in the 60s and 70s. And he said he could just remember the ambulances going back and forth, the people dropping out all day long over the heat. Just how dangerous it used to be. And obviously, you're working basically with molten lava. I mean, how safe can that be? Not too safe. And, they're working with all this high temperature material. It's extremely hot. There's tons of steps. There's a whole long process. They've got to crush the rock to get the iron ore. And then, of course, they've got to heat it to at different times, depending on the stage, between 2,500 and 3,000 degrees. Obviously, they're extracting that steel from the rock, and then they've got to put it into molds and then heat it again to put it in other molds, or to hammer it out and thin it out into sheets. And it's ridiculous how many steps you got to go through to make this stuff. But let me tell you, if we didn't have steel, we wouldn't have the modern era. Okay, every building, every skyscraper, to everything that we make, from cars and obviously computers to you name it, steel is in it. Okay? It's such an essential item that though the process is extremely brutal, extremely hard to do, if we don't do it, we don't get the benefits that we have today. And I would like to give us a little lesson, a little more on a serious side this morning, just briefly, about why that steel is so much like character in a human being. Now, it seems like our culture today couldn't give 2 cents about character, right? We're all about pizzazz. I talked to you the other episode about, looking good, putting on, the fake face and, we're this, we're that. Oh, look how cool we are. But really, the problem is that our characters in America are sadly lacking. We have no character. We'll sell our soul. It doesn't matter what comes along, man. We're just going to sell out for the cheapest thrill in the world. Now, you may like to have fun, and all of us like to have fun and have some enjoyments. But how far are you willing to go? Really, is it worth it? To sell certain things just to have a few minutes or a few moments or even a few hours of some fun? I mean, really. So we need to really think about this because character is essential. George Washington said something like this. He said, good moral character is the first essential in man. And George Washington knew a thing or two about, having some steel in his bones and sticking it out when time gets tough. For instance, Valley Forge. Yeah, you want to suffer through that kind of winter, through that kind of loss. But they did, and he did. And he inspired his men to continue on through the most brutal conditions and to stick it out because he knew there was things that were more important than his comfort and his, good time and his, having fun. And that's the point. Good character is going to help you to continue to do what's right, even when it's a lot easier, just like it would have been for me this morning to start my weekend now. I'm going to give you a show. All right, it has nothing to do, there's no way to compare to Valley Forge, let me tell you. The show is not that hard, but still, it's a good lesson. I'm going to give you a quote from me. And, take it for what it's worth. But I'm going to tell you this. Good character, not only is it essential, as George Washington said, but good character is not an accident. Let me tell you, if steel being so essential to creating the backbone to our society, let me tell you, good character is just as essential. It will be the backbone to making you function normally, to even continue on and to even survive. Because there's too much in this world, too much in this society to suck you in and spit you out, and you're going to need some good character. And let me tell you, just like steel, good character is no accident. Good character doesn't just happen. Good character is a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of processes. So, do you feel beaten down, crushed, heated to thousands of degrees? Is your life doing that to you? And sometimes it's real easy to think, I can't get ahead. Yeah, trust me, I know how you feel. There's a lot of times, especially, last couple of years, I felt the same way. And, going through different jobs and just stupidity. Like, what in the world? But what I realize is that just like steel, it's not going to just happen. You're not going to just get good character by, stumbling upon it. It's going to be a hard, tough, brutal process. But let me tell you, it's worth every bit of it. It will provide the structure for your life to be built around. And when you have good character, even though it might be hard, you're going to have a good, meaningful life. Look at George Washington, right? Look at a guy who had a lot of character. And he had a nation built around him, in essence. And I know there's a lot of other people involved, but I'm telling you, without George Washington, without that leader doing what he did, we wouldn't have a nation. And let me tell you, unless you do what's right, even when everything else is wrong, unless you have that good character built into you, and it's a process and it takes time, your life's going to fall apart. And, your life might be hard with good character, but you ain't going to have a good life without it. All right, guys. I know a little bit more serious this morning, but, man, I had to give you that, little bit of encouragement, a little bit of push, because sometimes it's really hard to stick with it when, all else is gone. All right, guys, thank you so much. I want you to have a great day. Now, I want you to go out and have a great weekend, all right? Relax, take a break, because when you produce steel, man, you're going to need a couple breaks, all right? You guys have a great weekend. Now, Vamoose.